Ciao, hello. I was just filming like a big reading wrap up from April to the present moment because I didn't do a reading wrap up video since March. So I've got April, May, June to kind of catch you up on. Of course, oh my God, I can't get comfortable. The camera died midway through. I don't think anyway I was being very clear, so maybe it's for the best to come to you and talk to you about a book that I'm reading now. Sorry, I'm having some pretty severe back pain and it's making it really hard for me to be in any position for very long, especially sitting. So I'm gonna do that. Stillest Day by Josephine Hart. Why have I never heard someone talk to me, one, about this book, and two, about Josephine Hart in general? Though on the other hand, I feel like I'm constantly chasing books that everyone else talks about or that everyone else knows, which is great. Like, I would read other people's amazing book recommendations for the rest of my life, but it's nice when I feel like I happen upon something I haven't really heard much about and I can tell you about it. I'm in this like weird, chaotic mood reading period where I'm starting like 500 books in a week. I have a like ongoing stack of nonfiction, which that's like less strange to be reading like many at the same time. It makes sense. But I just can't understand what I want to read in terms of fiction. Started this one and I'm loving it, to say the least. Love when you read a new author and you're like, whoa, you're really good. This book follows a character with like the strangest name ever. Her name is Bethesda Barnett, and she is living in a village. We don't know where it is, but it's very conservative and kind of far away from the city. Kind of village where like there's one church, there's one school, everyone knows each other. It's a very close-knit community, and she's living with her mother, who is getting older and has some kind of medical issue, like some kind of chronic pain. So she is at home taking care of her mother while at the same time being a painter and being an art teacher in the school in the village. I'm about 90 pages in, which is about halfway. Let's read you the back. The Stillest Day is a story of Bethesda Barnett, a spinster and art teacher who's slowly moving towards marriage with a farmer when she is gripped with desire for a man who arrives in the village with his pregnant wife. As events unfold, the collision of passion and accident pushes Bethesda towards social disgrace and madness. Hart is a poetic, cinematic writer, I'll get to that in a second, and presents her tale more starkly by stripping it of context. Yet once Bethesda's voice goes to work on the mundane, claustrophobic stuff of village life, it has Jane Austen-like precision. Combines the attributes of an elegant psychological thriller and a gothic horror story. Intelligent and compelling, she demonstrates a sure hand as she firmly guides this latest excursion down the tormented path of self-inflicted ruin. So everything about that sounds like just what I like to read. I can speak about the cinematic qualities is that as I'm reading this, I wish to adapt this book to film. So let's get our film rights. Our character is, I think she's 29, she's gonna turn 30. The beginning of the book really sets up kind of what life means in this village. So she wakes up, she takes us through her kind of cleansing ritual, like in the morning, how she bathes, and it's like this sort of very, very almost religious, but very conservative, sort of traditional look at like purity and you know, there's a certain way that you act in the village, there's certain things that you do in order to function in society in a respectable way, and women are really bound to certain tasks, and that you should be married by a certain time. And so she's kind of being courted by this man who's a farmer, and they've been kind of dating for a while, but he hasn't asked her to marry him. Then this man arrives to the village with his pregnant wife, and they move into the house next door, and she's obsessed with him. Like, it really has this obsessive kind of aspect to it. Also, writing, like, what we're reading is her kind of telling us these events after they've already happened. To the first page, there's a lot of things in this book that I wish to read to you. So we'll see how much I do of that. But this is the history of the first year. It does not presage the last. I feel no guilt, nor did I ever, and though this surprises me, I had no pity. Nothing in my past could have prepared me for what it is that I became, nor for the moment when suddenly I was called upon to act and to bear witness to the very edge of my capabilities and almost beyond. For nearly 30 years, I lived a life of piety and duty, a life which rested upon the twin pillars of my vocation, art teacher, and my filial duty, that of a loving daughter to my invalid, widowed mother. So from the age of reason, which I believe to be 7, until my 30th year, I laid one foot before the other in a circular journey from home to school to home in my village world, one foot before the other, quietly tapping out the years. And then she takes us through like the geography kind of the village, how it's functioning. The writing is just gorgeous. I fulfilled, therefore, the great responsibility of the adult. I told the essential lies and left the rest in obscurity, as was my duty. Daughters, my mother often said, shame a family in a particular way and leave it naked before the world. A warning to me, perhaps, for my mother and I both knew that a family shamed in a village is shamed for generations, and in repetition, the history of an old sin achieves an almost biblical resonance. Here in this known place, I learned from the lives of others, as they no doubt learned from mine, and mine is a lesson which will be long taught. Just to catch you up to what I've reached to so far. So, the family that lived next door to her, the husband passed away, and the wife decided to move. So the house becomes vacant, and this couple moves in next door. And before she meets the wife, she meets the husband. It doesn't really meet him, she just sees him. This is the first 2 paragraphs of page 8. His rain-washed face was what I first saw. It was turned to the heavens, which drenched the wetness further, so that rivulets of water ran down his white skin. And in that instant, I longed to let my hair loose to dry the unknown wonder of that vision. That's gorgeous. I leaned against my front door and trapped my hands behind me, lest they unfurl the cloth of my hair and I would be destroyed. It's really this character's obsession with not only this man, but of, I think, what desire makes her feel. The fact that she desires so much this man, and like to kind of merge with him, because she does this thing, which she's an artist, as I mentioned before. And from seeing him, she will draw or paint his body parts, like his face or arms or chest or foot or something, on a mirror. So the first thing she does is like paint his face, that when she saw when he was in the rain. She paints his face onto a mirror, and then she looks in the mirror and she sees his reflection on her face, which is just a really strong image. I slid silently back into my house, and in the hall I stared into the long mirror which captured me, wet and white, and the vision of him was on my face. This tracery of his face on mine was so clear that his and mine seemed to form a single portrait. I knew the mystery of mirrors. I knew the pirouette of the eye which makes us recognize ourselves falsely. The reversed image of truth is impossible for our human eyes to look upon, and so we mold our vision to our spiritual capabilities and, of necessity, believe yet another essential lie. I think her desire for him kind of shatters this image of herself and how she knows herself and how she knows herself to function in this family, with her mother, in this town, in this village. It's just so good. Like, I'm sure we'll have more to say as I go along, but the writing is amazing. There's a lot of like talk of like death, but also of birth and of age, like her aging mother standing next to a pregnant woman. And so this kind of transition or circle of life. Also themes of art, which we know that I like. It also reads to me a little bit, not that I have really much experience reading classics, American classics at all, but does kind of have that feeling. Maybe also like the provincial setting of it. Yeah, I don't know, it's all for now. Hi, so it's a new day. Have spent my morning just doing some housework, like doing laundry, doing dishes, and I certainly have more of those things to do today, but I've also been wanting to leave the house and haven't because I can't stop reading this book. So let's talk about it. It's just taking some twists in the story that I really didn't expect. Like, this book is going in places I didn't expect it to go. And Josephine Hart is, I think, I do think she's pretty fucking brilliant, but I think she's also very bold. Let me put this down so it's not such an uncomfortable situation. So sorry if you hear the washing machine in the background. I can't remember exactly the last point that I spoke to you around 90 pages, and I'm about at 152. So I'm approaching the end, like in the last fourth of the book. Our main protagonist, Bethesda, and her mother are frequently being visited by the wife of this man. So Mary is the wife, Mary Pearson, and Matthew Pearson is the kind of man that our protagonist is becoming really obsessed with and obsessing over him. She doesn't have so much a relationship with him, but Mary Pearson is 8 months pregnant and is kind of continually inserting herself into their household, and she's building a sort of quick friendship with Bethesda's mother. Bethesda's like not having it with Mary Pearson. She becomes like increasingly uncomfortable and even more so almost disgusted by this Mary. I don't think it's only because she's the wife of this man that, you know, she is obsessing over, but because she kind of is like a glowing emblem, if I can say, of oppression in her eyes. It's like this woman is everything, and she's the whole package of what it means to be an oppressed woman in this village life, just marrying and getting pregnant and won't stop talking about being pregnant, won't stop talking about women without children. Also asking Bethesda about whether she's gonna get married to this farmer, Samuel. She does not like this Mary at all. And something is also like shaking this dynamic between her and her mother with Mary's presence, because her mother and Mary are sort of like becoming besties in front of her eyes, and it's sort of like tossing her reality as she knows it, like this way and that way. So sorry for the washing machine. And then there comes a twist that is referred to as the stillest day. So the stillest day comes. I'm really wondering with myself whether to say what happens. I mean, I don't think that you read this book, I don't think it's like, this is a book about plot. This is really a book about interior character and language, just gorgeous poetic use of language. But of course, the plot also matters. There is a plot here, so I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a violent event that happens in Bethesda and her mother's home, and it is referred to as the Stillest Day. Because of this act, Bethesda and her mother, but more Bethesda, is looked at by the village people in almost something that reminds me of the Scarlet Letter. Like the question is begged whether a person, even in a dire situation, should act as God, meaning should interfere between life and death without giving too much away. Her and her mother step in and make a very quick, rushed choice to do something that people view as her acting as God, which people don't like. Now, up until where I am, we're in the days after the Stillest Day, and the relationship between Bethesda and Matthew, Mary's husband, becomes more and more dark. Also takes some very weirdly, one, erotic and two, violent turns in the way that they communicate through a wall in the bedroom. I'm sorry, I'm asking myself how vague to be here. It's just a great scene though that I can say and is quite disturbing, but there's a hole that's drilled through the wall between Matthew's wall and Bethesda's wall, and they communicate through this small, or not so small, hole that it appears in the wall. Some just pretty intense situations happening in these two rooms. Really love the way it's written. I love the tone. So at this point in the last fourth of the book, which I guess I'll give this away, it's not acceptable for Bethesda or her mother anymore to reside in this village. So her mother is sent somewhere separately from her, and Bethesda is kind of exiled to an island where she joins kind of a convent. So that's where I'm at now. We've arrived to the island where she's choosing silence and stillness. We keep being kind of taken through in small glimpses, her artworks, how they're developing from sort of realistic portrayals of village life to something more distorted, strange, surreal in her art, which, yeah, it's like her world and her art are merging in that sense and showing this transformation in her psyche and in her life. The way that she writes, when you read the writing, it's painting a picture in your mind's eye. That's the best way to put it, which you could say in a way when you read something and you visualize it, it's painting a picture in your mind. But this is physically feels like it's being painted with a brush in your imagination. Paint two women in a doorway that open the door. Paint a man walking up the stairs. Paint a man in shock. Paint a man walking as though hypnotized towards a visual cacophony of wailing women and whispering men, then rest. So yeah, it's very, very original and specific visual experience through reading this, which I just think is so unique. I'll keep you updated on it. Some colleagues from work have put together a sale today, so I think if it's still going, I'm gonna stop by there. And also the leftovers plus a portion of the proceeds will go towards the Trans Center for Transgender People and Youth that we have here in Tel Aviv. So that's obviously a cause that I'm wanting to support. I might even go through my closet and donate some stuff to the center. So anyway, I'm gonna get on a little bit with my day and leave the humble abode, and I'll catch up with you later. For those who are interested, since I haven't done it in a while, I'll share my fit check, my outfit. Although it's not really so nice because everything's vintage. I mean, it's nice because I like to shop secondhand and vintage, and it's anyway better for everything. But it's just not so nice if you want the same. But anyway, if you're curious, this is just a like black tank top. It doesn't even have a label on it anywhere. These shorts I got secondhand here in Tel Aviv. I did that thing where you try to make the pants tighter by like moving the button into the loop next to it. I don't know if you know what I mean. But nice length, good summer shorts that aren't, you know, tiny denim. It's nice to have like some kind of medium length shorts, I feel. These, however, I really wanted to show you, which are new Nike sneakers. Oh my God, can I stand on one leg? Am I a dancer? I should be able to do that. I bought these in France now when I was working, when I got out of my quarantine from COVID. I thought I needed new sneakers, and if I'm gonna go for sneakers, let's go for sneakers. So I love them. I love the color. These are also just secondhand clip-on earrings. I think I got them in Lisbon in Portugal, which was the best place for clip-on vintage earrings that I've ever found. So that's it. That's what I'm wearing. Okay, gorgeous people. I'm back from the store. I went to the sale, it was super cute. And then I went to the grocery store because I wanted to get myself tonic water. Nothing special. Because I have a really good vermouth up here. And the other day, Ohad and I were sitting somewhere, and the bartender, I said I wanted like an Aperol spritz or something. And she was like, I'm gonna make you something a little bit better. And she put vermouth and tonic and a slice of orange inside, kind of like a vermouth spritz. And it was really great, and I have vermouth, so I thought that that would be my Saturday afternoon drink. And I have some chicken in the fridge. Sorry for anyone that doesn't eat meat of any kind. If any of you who are either living with people or live with a partner, that like when the partner is away, it's really hard for me to like, when it comes to food, it's really hard for me to like arrange myself eating wise. Also because my partner Ohad is like such a great cook, but also just because it's like there's no one there with you to kind of like throw ideas with, like, should we go out? Should we make this? Should we do that? And then I find myself just like with really poor eating habits when I'm alone. So let me know if you can feel that. But I will, in fact, make myself a nutritious meal now. And then I think finish my book, and then I'll update you guys. I'm doing a lot of hands gestures. I have a meeting at 8 o'clock on Zoom, so that's in about an hour. I'm having such amazing conversations with bookish people on Instagram right now, and I just would love to say, also I've had some to drink, so I'm a little tipsy. I will be forthcoming with that information. Just such a beautiful, cute corner of the internet, the book community. Really, I can't explain it. It's so nice. Like this evening, I have felt a little bit of cabin fever from being inside, but it's so hot outside, and I didn't want to go outside either, but I'm able to like spend my time talking to really, really interesting people on the internet. So I just want to say that I'm loving that. I'm very grateful. Still, my hair is crazy. Still have about 35 pages left of this one. So I'm gonna either try to finish that before this meeting or definitely after. I'm really excited. I'm taking part in Katie James. She has a new book club. So if you don't follow her on YouTube, her YouTube is Katie James, and she's great. Really, really similar reading taste to me. She's also a dancer, she's a movement artist, very smart and lovely, makes great content, and yeah, the kind of videos that she talks about a lot of books, artists talking about art, or writers talking about writing, among a lot of other recommendations, but I think that we align a lot in terms of taste and what we like to read. So anyway, love her. And her Instagram is, I'll put it here, an other book. So she started a book club, like another book club, and I'm taking part in it. So the pick is Higher Ground by Anke Stelling, translated from the German by Lucy Jones. And it's a book that I wanted to read anyway, so great choice, Katie. So it'll be really, really fun to read something and then like actually go on Zoom. Another amazing thing about the book community will be another way to like just meet people on the screen, their face, and like talk about a book that we all read together. And like challenge some social anxiety I have about meeting new people, but also like really loving that it's about books. So I feel like my voice goes up an octave when I'm drinking. Let me know if you can confirm that. Catch you later. Bye for now.
She's bracing herself for impact.
I don't know about that.
Oh. Too much? She's scratched me before.
Good morning. Honestly, mornings these past few days have been hitting me like a truck in the face. More coffee is definitely in the horizon. I finished the book. It's up there. So I think I'm gonna grab it and give you my final thoughts, and then talk to you about what I'm reading now, which I mentioned before, which is Higher Ground. Anke Stelling, I think. Give you some like initial thoughts on that maybe. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else to include in this vlog, but let's start with just wrapping up the content so far. Okay, hi. Finished it, The Stillest Day by Josephine Hart. I am so just fully thrilled with the fact that I stumbled upon this book. You know, it's just this is what makes, I mean, really any bookstore like magical, but I feel like in first-hand bookstores you're more drawn in and fed like the new releases, and like, you know, there's always that like table in the middle with all of the like popular picks. And I feel like that's kind of what you focus on when you go to a mainstream bookstore. But when you go to a used bookstore, you know, you find things like this, which are just like, okay, well, I have no idea what that is, but I'm just going alphabetical and it looks interesting, and you grab it and then it rocks your world. So I loved this book so much. I took you through the plot and everything, and like, yeah, I could kind of like keep walking you through the last fourth of the book until it finishes, but I really just think that it's really not about what happens in this book. I mean, it is, but it's really about the writing. Like, I think Josephine Hart, if you like good, beautiful writing, then definitely give this one a go. It's pretty, like, on the front it says rich in disturbing overtones, masterly and compelling. So yes, I would say that it has something disturbing about it. And there's like a crazy scene in the end that kind of mirrors a scene in sort of towards the beginning of the book, and it's just done really well, and it's very, she speaks in images, which I really love. Like, her images that she builds for you are so layered and strong. It has kind of a biblical feeling to it. I just read Sheila Heti's Pure Color, which kind of also has that vibe of like reading like a Bible story. And this does as well, in a very different way. There's a lot of reference to mirrors in this book, and mirrors kind of reflecting identity. So questions of identity, how we see ourselves in relation to the way others see us, how we see ourselves in relation to what we should build ourselves to be in society, how we should function, how we should act. It means to be an artist in society. Does making and being an artist, and especially a female artist, does it exile you in some fundamental way from the rest of the world? She's asking really interesting questions there as a female artist. There's another character in the convent, and she's saying like, an unquestioning acceptance of mystery is essential in spiritual life. She's a nun also. I believe mystery should never be investigated. And I wrote on the bottom, I think that this mystery is like women's autonomy, and women's autonomy should not be questioned or investigated. A lot of social commentary in this book. And I think I mentioned The Scarlet Letter, which I haven't read in a really, really long time. But this kind of like public kind of shunning of a woman in society, it's reminiscent of that kind of thing. Yeah, this book is surprising and very rich, very cinematic. I would like to make this into a film, as I mentioned before. Please, somebody fucking read this book, because I have no one to talk to about it. I would also love to speak to people that maybe don't like it, or also really it rocks their world. So this is my call to action, that you give this book a try so that I have someone to chat about it with, because I'm in a void now. Now I'm reading, as I mentioned, Higher Ground for Katie James's book club. Quite a bit of time, but I have kind of a crazy schedule, and I want to make sure that it doesn't escape me. So I'm just like, it's what I'm reading now. I'm almost halfway through. We're following a woman in her 40s that has 4 kids, I think. The whole book is like a letter, sort of, written to, not a letter, it's like she's writing this book to her daughter in the vein of, you know, let me tell you what I learned about life. This is the things that weren't passed on to me, and it's dissecting a lot knowledge that we get of the world, and we're told in what we're kept in the dark about from our parents and from a lineage of mothers. So our main character is, whose name now for some reason I don't remember, but she is kind of passing on to her daughter the lessons she's learned, like how fucking real life is, that her mom did not prepare her for. A lot about class, wealth and poverty, class privilege and privilege in general. So that seems to be kind of a theme. I'm enjoying it. I'm interested to see how it goes, or how it kind of comes together when I read the whole thing. I'd say the characters so far quite unlikable. Okay, I switched to my camera because I did the most idiotic thing ever, which was set my iPhone directly in the sunlight to film that previous clip, and it's like, girl, the temperature is too high, now you can't use your iPhone. So that's one way to just break your shit. I can just put you here. Just to wrap up what I was saying, it caught me really in the mid-sentence, and it's morning. I was saying that I'm going back and forth between liking and really disliking the main voice of this mother that's telling us the story to her daughter. Like, she irritates me sometimes, and then sometimes I'm like, yeah, I like you. So yeah, she's complicated. I like that it's kind of dissecting. It takes place in Berlin, so main conflict of the book kind of is that this family is being kind of evicted, but it's more like the landlord is kicking them out of the house, but the house was owned or lived in by like really good friends of this woman. So our main character is a writer, and she writes this book that kind of, I mean, it's about her life, but she's, you know, also writing about her friends and the people that are around her, and in sometimes not a flattering way. And so they all get really, really sensitive and upset about that, and then kind of stop speaking to her, and also send a letter to the landlord to remove them from this apartment. Talking a lot about like apartments and houses and living and what a home is, and in Berlin or in Germany, and how those things meet wealth and class, and, you know, a certain person's kitchen floor versus another person's kitchen floor. And as a child, you grow up to think it's a floor, but when you become a mother, an adult, you realize that floor says something about how much money you make, or what your status is in the world. Writing about telling stories, can you use the people around you? There's the line of like, you know, privacy, I guess. I'll talk, I guess, more about it when I finish it. Like, in some ways, I feel like it's, I see what it's doing, but in some ways it feels a little bit surface to me. Still interesting, and I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm really excited to be a part of a book club where I can talk to other really cool, amazing, cool, fun people about it, and hear thoughts. So I'm rambling. I'm not sure that I'll keep filming until I finish that book. It would be a really long vlog. I did think that I would maybe, I don't know, I saw some people going through their Storygraph, which, if you're not sure what Storygraph is, it's like an app on the computer or on your phone that logs your reading. So a non-Amazon owned Goodreads type of situation. It gives you kind of a better layout at what you're reading if you're interested in your like statistics. So I thought maybe I would just take a look at that once my phone turns back on. Not looking good. It's not looking good. Last night we made dinner, and I made again this like vermouth spritz with an orange slice. So if you're someone who drinks and you like, well, a really refreshing summer drink that is like, gives you like a cute little buzz, you could have it like in the middle of the day, but you could also have it for dinner and it just wouldn't give you a hangover. And really good for hot weather. So try some like vermouth and tonic and an orange slice, and like kind of squeeze the orange in it. Back in business with a phone. Okay, well, I've read 28 books so far this year. My goal is 50 books, so I'm like 2 books ahead of where I should be, like, by this point of the year. So it gives you a little pie chart here. The biggest segment of the chart says reflective. I would say that's true. I have read a lot of reflective books. So the biggest ones are reflective, emotional, challenging, and dark, and sad. That sounds true. The smallest little sliver is hopeful. So, wow. The pace of the books I read, 52% of the books I read are slow, and 41% are medium, and 7% are fast-paced. So, yeah, I like a slow or medium slow book. 84% is under 300 pages. So yeah, I think if you can do, I think 170, like 160 to 180 is like a perfect book to me. Like 200 is also nice, but If you can just like do a lot in less pages, I've said this before, it's just great for me. But I have read like, I guess Secret History is like 600 pages, so it says 4% of my books are over 500 pages, but very, 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 very slim. 68% fiction, 32% nonfiction. I like to balance my fiction also with memoir, nonfiction, writers talking about writing, artists talking about art. Genres, literary and contemporary are the biggest ones, and then poetry, which I'm happy about. Memoir, LGBTQIA+, classics. What classics did I read? Oh, Margaret Duras' The Lover, and Sonnets to Orpheus, which is a book of poetry by Rilke. So, okay, that makes sense, it's classics. My most read authors this year are Sheila Heti and Annie Ernaux. Nice. Read 5,195 pages this year so far. I feel like blogging was weirdly easier when I was in the hotel isolating, that I had made a vlog about, because it just seemed like the thing to do. And now that I'm back like in normal life in my house and my days are going like this, I'm just trying to get into the practice of turning on the camera. So I'm gonna make myself something to eat and work on this vlog. I want to try to get it up sometime this week, either tonight or tomorrow. Let me know, I don't know, if you've got ideas for me or something you want to see. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you've read, please read, or let me know if you have read the Josephine Hart, and if you've read Higher Ground by Anke Stelling. And I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.